welcome. My name is Desiree Shaw and I'm a psychotherapist and I vlog and I podcast. Welcome to another episode of M.A.M.A, which stands for Men and Mental Health Awareness. In this video, I'm going to be looking at the emotional distresses of men. Quite a long-winded title, sorry. But what are the emotional distresses of men? What do men find distressing emotionally, and what is the significance of how a man sees himself and the problems that he actually goes through? So first of all, I'm going to look at what the common areas are for emotional distress. First one, physical health. Physical health problems, relationship problems, employment issues, social isolation, significant change in living arrangements, be it financial, having to move, or separation or a divorce, pregnancy or birth of a new child, drug and alcohol use, and basically this list is not exhausted. So it's not just those things, but this is probably more or less roughly around what we all find emotionally distressing. However, having done my own research personally within sessions and having face-to-face sessions with my clinic of mainly men, I have noticed that these are big issues. So these can trigger depression and or anxiety. And depression is about loss or failure, feeling that you have either not achieved something or you're going to lose something. So when a man faces the fear of failure, I mean, this is a really big deal for men because it's a huge emotional charge for men. Failure, it's a huge emotional charge for all of us, but it is a huge emotional charge for men because it causes a man to self-judge and recognise that he actually isn't being a man in his view because he's failing. When we start to think that we're failing, we can make all kinds of judgments about ourselves and lots of knee-jerk reactions. So dealing with that possibility of failing, when it comes to men believing that they're failing, how they're dealing with it, they often jump straight into their fight, flight, freeze. So if you've listened to any of my videos before, you'll notice I do talk a lot about the fight, flight, freeze, and I discuss about how you get into your emotional discomfort because of that nanosecond reaction to something which is actually happening in your life, which feels absolutely enormous. You may be a fighter, you might be a freezer, you might be a fleer, which basically means that you might fight your way out. So there might be lots of anger. You might flee, where the worry and the fear is so overwhelming, and the shame sometimes, and you just get out. You might freeze due to the depression, you don't know what to do, or you may feel ashamed, or you may be so scared that you haven't thought about what to do. Shame is a big factor when it comes to fear of failure. Often when people display signs of anger, it is actually a lot of shame behind that, and they can be fighting to try and reclaim their self-perception of themselves. So men don't talk about their feelings. They are commonly known to bottle it up and possibly lash out in an attempt to get through the feeling. Because we don't teach men how to deal with their emotions, they do often get stuck. And when they do get stuck within them, it feels so uncomfortable. They don't actually know how to deal with it. So what ends up happening is they often lash out. It's very common for a man to lash out. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about with anger. Be that anger inward, outward, it's often they do lash out. And any of those things that I mentioned can cause a man to do that. Now, because they're internalising and the inner battle of the self-loathing and the anger, the frustration and the self-sabotaging behaviours which come out from this as well, it can put them in a very uncomfortable place and often feeling ashamed and depressed and more angry and more anxious about what could happen next. So what are the emotional triggers? When I spoke to a few guys, this is what they had to say.
As far as emotional triggers go, it's really easy to go straight to anger. But oftentimes, if something goes wrong repeatedly, I find that I just go straight into a pit.
For most men, it's being either second best or not recognised for the things that they do for people in general. That's what I've always felt, anyway.
The emotional triggers would be, I guess, changes, things that I'm not used to, and it's adapting and changing to those that can cause stress, I guess, or losing someone, like a friend or a loved one, like girlfriend.
I know the triggers are society based, it depends on your upbringing and your circle and your surroundings. It's no different to a woman, but sometimes, it's hard to say what will directly trigger you. Everybody is different. This is why if you get the help, you know if your trigger is easily pulled or you're restraining to actually move forward, because sometimes when you bury the problem, it surfaces into a more deeper problem.
It is important to understand and recognise what your triggers are. So I do a lot of support in being able to support you to understand and recognise what your triggers are. And I'll put a link of the videos and also podcasts I do explaining what the emotions mean. Information is key, education is power. When you understand yourself and why you do what you do, you're better equipped to be able to make a different decision in the future because you're better abled, okay? Or at first, just understanding why you did what you did is also quite a powerful thing to do. When we feel trapped because of a situation, we ruminate and we fear the overestimation of the disaster, and we react to the estimation of the disaster, which causes us to go into our fight, flight, freeze. So when a man is worrying, when a man is caught up, what tends to happen is it's extra big and it's extra painful and it's extremely difficult, okay? Because it's not that something bad is happening, it's something bad is happening to them, okay? And the issue is that they're not going to be able to control it and they're not going to be able to manage it, which means it's going to be an absolute disaster. And they can't tolerate the feeling, that discomfort of, I can't tolerate it, so everything's going wrong. This is terrible. I must make a change. And so when these situations arise, what tends to happen is the fight, flight, freeze kicks in, which is extremely counterproductive. You need your fight, flight, freeze just in case, you're in imminent danger. It is perfect for supporting you through imminent danger, times of when your life is at stake, but it's so counterproductive in dealing with matters of the heart and issues and everyday life. So counterproductive. You can actually ruin things when you get into your fight, flight, freeze. In fact, that's what people do, which is why it's called self-sabotaging, but you do that. So it's recognising that you're only human. When we think that we're failing, we worry what other people are going to think of us and we worry what it means. So we try to defend ourselves, which is why we go into the fight, flight, freeze. And when we feel like there's no other option, there's absolutely no other option, then what we do is sometimes, some of us, we take matters into our own hands and we make a temporary situation be the overriding decision for making a permanent solution to a temporary situation that, once done, is non-negotiable. Because we seek to preserve life as best as we can, we take the decision to do the best thing for us at the time, depending on who is going to be affected. Some people think that they're better off if they're not in the world because they believe they are a bad person or they are bad news or that they failed so much that they're never going to be able to succeed. So they take that permanent solution to a temporary situation, not recognising that because they're fearing their failure, they're anxious about the perceived threat of the future, and they don't know how to manage their emotions because they see themselves as something other than human, because perfectionism gets in the way and all sorts of other things get in the way. So the takeaway from this particular video is you are not flawed because you struggle with emotional, disturbances of any kind, or disturbance or upheaval. You're not flawed. If you do have an emotional upheaval or situation or disturbance, however you want to quantify it as a challenge, you're only human. Okay, and as humans, this is what happens to us. So you're perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect by default, because that's how you were made. You were created that way. You cannot be measured up to another person because you are uniquely you. And the idea is that you travel through this life learning on a journey to support yourself as best as you can, to make the changes and the decisions to grow and be as uniquely yourself. It's not so much about the situation, okay? And it isn't the situation. It's how you perceive and view the situation. Perception is everything, okay? And often it is, in fact, I will put a link to the video, the ABC, which is in REBT. This is how you view a situation. It's on your belief. And often you think that you can't handle it and it's going to be absolutely terrible. But you can handle it. And it is not going to be absolutely terrible. It's not the end of the world. And it does feel bad. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Desiree Shaw. For more videos, make sure you have subscribed and make sure you hit that little bell thing so that you can get an alert when I upload another video. Thank you so much for watching Mama, Men and Mental Health. My name is Desiree Shaw and I'm a psychotherapist, and I vlog and I podcast. I practice at the Priory and privately, and you can get hold of me via my website link in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.